No! This is Patrick!
Hello everyone, Skippy here, and welcome to One Piece episode 960, directed by Aya Komaki and supervised by Masayuki Takagi. As we make way into the lengthy Kozuki Oden flashback that we're going to be in for a number of months, it makes every bit of sense why one of the strongest current series directors, Aya Komaki, is handling the entrance into it with their first personally directed episode since 933, which will give Oden's introduction that character-centric pizzazz, series referential flair, and complex visual identity that makes up her body of work, with one of the most seasoned supervisors on the show, Masayuki Takagi, adding to it further with his angular and expressionistic corrections that I've been wanting to see in an episode of this important nature. With what's sure to be a pretty ambitious and intricately woven board and even the smallest sections of it that'll be dressed to impress with character acting wherever it's needed and more, this should end up being one of the most tightly crafted and best episodes of Wano as a whole, and a great way to kick off the former soon-to-be Shogun's backstory. So will episode 960 be yet another example of Komaki's ever-impressive directorial skill and love for the series proper? Let's set our calendars back to 20 years ago and find out. This episode covers the remainder of chapter 959 and the entirety of chapter 960. And even though that means that she's speeding through the content at a rate that the staff hasn't in a while, Komaki still brings her absolute A-game and brings Oden's introduction to life in more ways than one by not only adding in scenes where they can so we can get a good look at how much of a goofball troublemaker Oden is, but also by rearranging the content to keep the plots focused on Oden and Kinemon and Denjiro separate until they cross paths at the end of the episode, being helped further by a few small panels being skipped because of just how many ideas are in store. There's even some liberties taken in regards to how we see Oden's past ways recapped by outright showing us a lot of the rambunctious behavior that he's partaken in over time, and doing so in many extra ways at that are exceptionally creative even when they stick close to the manga. It's definitely a lot closer to the original content than past episodes because of the sheer page count, so there may not be too very much pure and full-on extension going on here. But even when they're just going through the motions, there's so much added to every scene to either set up one of the eventual gags, or to make it just so much more stylish and full of flair than what Oda went with. It's really just Komaki doing what she does best by always finding new and creative ways to make the source material much more fun and inviting, which the storyboard backs up and damn near almost carries. With colors flying around at Mach speeds and fantastic lighting that helps immerse the viewer in both the impactful but also normal scenes, Komaki's storyboard is just another complete and utter showcase of her skill and shows how ambitious she can really get. Adding a grand amount of scale and some really cool and punchy angles wherever and whenever she pleases, that itself is expanded upon even in the flashback within a flashback, where there's so much depth of field, parallax scrolling, and just sheer vibrance and cool compositions packed into every little corner. And of course it simply wouldn't be a Komaki storyboard without her ramped and crazy expressions that themselves fly at incredible speeds and are just so plentiful in this episode, which helps facilitate emotion to begin with and also just makes it so it's all so incredibly animated and chock full of life. Sure, there may have been an area or two where I feel like it maybe wasn't as well done as it could have been, but it's absolutely nothing but an extremely minor and minute nitpick for a storyboard that just has fun with itself and breathes ambition, which helps Chu Young Su's small yet somewhat extensive array of cuts feel that much more crazy beyond his smooth yet snappy movement and experimentation by, for example, having multiple characters on screen at once at a single cut and having them all move throughout the entirety of it. When paired nice and snugly with Yoshikazu Tomita helping to bring Oden to life initially, and Masayuki Takagi's visceral corrections that bring the wide array of expressions within Komaki's storyboard to life, 960 is just seriously a real ball of fun. It pushes us right into Oden's flashback with so much sheer pizzazz and neat ideas that really help what was already a pretty packed entrance to begin with. And that's simply just yet another example of how your director matters when it comes to what an episode should and could achieve, through simply just being skilled enough to be able to bring some really cool things to the table for every part of the production. Now, will we get that same premium display from next week's episode episode 961, when you consider the staff for it, I sure hope so. It's already one thing that former series director Toshinori Fukuzawa is back in not just the storyboard position, but the director's chair this time around. But Yusuke Isochi and his team over at Studio Guts are here too, and have not been seen on the anime for quite some time. So there's already a fair bit to really look forward to. The preview, like the last few, doesn't show a whole lot since there's so much content at hand for them to adapt, and that does make it so it kinda looks a little boring going in. But I have the utmost faith that our prior series director who paved the way for the way the anime is now was seriously impressed with his first full-on Wano episode. Anyways guys, that's it for now. I'm Skippy, and man is it cool that they got Takeshi Mainami to do the first new eye catches in God knows how long.